Hello and welcome everyone to Connected Learning TV. My name is Tara Brown. This is the 30th webinar in our series. To date, our webinar content has been viewed in over 90 countries, and we've really enjoyed seeing such a diverse community develop over these past several months. If you'd like to check out our previous webinars, you can visit the webinar archive at connectedlearning.tv. And for those of you that are watching over the live stream, we would really love for you to join in on the chat, introduce yourselves, and connect with each other, share resources, pose questions for those in the Google Plus Hangout. We also have a Google Doc for sharing resources, and that'll show up in the live stream chat. So today, I'm very excited that we're joined by Nirvan Mullick. Nirvan is a Los Angeles-based filmmaker, digital strategist, and creative consultant. In 2011, he co-founded a creative agency, Interconnected, through which he directed Caine's Arcade, an 11-minute short film that has been viewed over 6 million times, raising over $200,000. They're well on their way to reaching the goal of $250,000 for a scholarship fund for a creative young boy, Caine. Nirvan has recently launched a nonprofit called the Imagination Foundation to find, foster, and fund creativity and entrepreneurship in kids. So before Nirvan takes the floor, I want everyone here to have a chance to introduce themselves. So let's start out with you, Isaiah.
Hi, I'm Isaiah Saxon, coming to you from San Francisco. I'm a co-founder of a youth organization called DIY.org. We're a startup, and our mission is to grow creative confidence in kids, to provide an online platform for them to earn skills and share their creative projects and gain encouragement from friends and family. We are trying to build a Maker Scouts-like organization using iOS and the web as our primary platform.
Fantastic. Laurel.
Hi, everyone. Do I have to? I took over. Hi, my name is Laurel Felt. I'm a PhD candidate at USC Annenberg here, which is a School of Communication and Journalism here in Los Angeles. I study play and various ramifications and contexts. Prior to PhD study, I was an improvisational comedian and a preschool teacher. So I love to play personally. And through my work overseas, teaching youths in Senegal and India, as well as running some programs here in urban Los Angeles, I'm really appreciating the vitality of helping youths to develop skills that will do them well throughout the course of the lifetime, especially since we live in an era where you can look up facts and contexts are changing really fast. I think that agility and social and emotional intelligence and problem-solving skills are among the most important. And I think that play encompasses all of that. So to look at these things, I've been studying with Henry Jenkins and Aaron Riley at the Annenberg Innovation Lab on a project called Participatory Learning in You, which is also an acronym for play. And we were doing some professional development with teachers, helping them to become more comfortable with play themselves so that they could have their students play in their classrooms. Currently, I'm working with an organization at USC which supports service learning for about 1,000 undergraduates per year. And we're about to start piloting next semester a digital badge in play, because I think that in those spaces, the ability to do all of the things that I just said, all of the things that we think play does, is really important in order to ensure productive, sensitive, negotiated exchanges and rich learning. So
Thank you. Thank you. You have a busy plate. Monica, you're up.
Yeah, I'm Monica. in Loveland, Colorado, where we are intensely experimenting with the intersection of city and school. And think Colin Ward, Child in the City. And our focus is a process of learning to learn, which we found embeds quite nicely into John Seeley Brown's imagination and play that he talks about quite a bit. So focusing on facilitating curiosities.
Thank you so much. Nirvan, it's all you. And just wanted to point out my contribution. I have all my cardboard boxes ready to go for October 6th.
Awesome. Hi, my name is Nirvan. I'm here in Los Angeles, California. And I made a short film called Caine's Arcade, which was posted online about 6 months ago. The film was actually shot a year ago. It was the last day of summer, and I'll just talk a little bit about how that film came to be and what's come out of it. So it was the last day of summer, and I had to buy a door handle for my '96 Corolla. So I went to a random auto parts store in Boyle Heights, and when I went inside the store, there was this pile of boxes and this young boy named Caine behind the boxes. And Caine asked me if I wanted to play, and he was running his arcade. I didn't know what it was at first, and I was instantly curious. It was obvious that this kid had spent a lot of time building this arcade, and there were all these little handmade displays, and he used clear plastic tape to make little windows, and there was just all kinds of creative problem-solving solutions and expression in what he'd made. So he sold me this fun pass. Probably most of the people watching this have seen the short film. He had this fun pass that was $2 and you got 500 turns, which was an amazing deal. I bought the fun pass and I ended up playing his arcade for about 40 minutes. Kind of forgot about my errand that I was supposed to be doing, and just lost myself in kind of the experience of being a kid again. And I was very inspired by this and wanted to make a short film that would share that. Later, through the course of making the film, I found out from Caine's dad that he'd been working on this all summer and had yet to have a single customer, that I was the first person to buy a fun pass and to stop and play. And that really touched me, and I decided to make a flash mob to try to surprise Caine with lots of customers. And that flash mob invitation went mini viral, hit the front page of Reddit, and was shared on a Facebook page called Hidden LA, which had about 230,000 fans at the time. And this all happened within like a week, so it was very fast. But people around the world were responding to the just the idea of making this kid's day and what Caine had created, even without having seen it. I was kind of amazed at how just the story took off. We shot the film last October with the flash mob, and now that film went out and it did beyond. It had a reach beyond what we'd anticipated. Initially, with the film, there was a goal of raising a $25,000 scholarship fund for Caine, and that has went over $100,000 in the first 24 hours. It's at $218,000 now. And 3 days after posting the film, we started thinking about how we could help other kids through this project, and decided to start this foundation called the Imagination Foundation, with the mission to find, foster, and fund creativity and entrepreneurship in more kids. 2 days after starting the foundation, we got a challenge grant of $250,000 from the Goldhirsch Foundation that was matching the donations to Caine Scholarship Fund. So we've raised $218,000 of that $250,000 goal, and that gave us an opportunity to take something that was a viral moment and turn it into something that could be a foundation to help more kids moving forward. So the first thing we did was a school pilot program. And my background's in film, and I'd studied philosophy before that, so not really coming from a place of having studied connected learning, project-based learning, education, but was really kind of just thrown into the situation. I have worked in the nonprofit space, and I've always been interested in the intersection between media and social impact. So this was kind of lightning in a bottle in my world, and I didn't sleep for several days, and there was this tremendous opportunity, but also this tremendous pressure to try to make the most of it. I had been working with the Goldhirsch Foundation for the last 12 years, so that's one of the reasons I think they kind of stepped in and saw this opportunity and wanted to support it. So we started a school pilot program right away. There was a clear interest in the education space. There were just thousands of emails from teachers who were writing about how their students were responding. They were showing the film in their classes. And also from kids just writing about how inspired they were, seeing what Caine had made. And so many of them had just started making things, like emails from parents saying, my 4-year-old daughter watched the film and just started making stuff, or went back to a project that had been sitting around for weeks, and after she saw the film, or he saw the film, just started making stuff. So the film really hit this chord, both with adults and kids. I think for adults it was kind of this nostalgic chord, reminding what it was like when we were kids, before so many digital distractions or opportunities, depending on your perspective. And it was awesome. I mean, it was this unexpected, awesome response, and there was what I call this wave of DIY cardboard creativity sweeping, kids across the world. We were just getting these videos and photos of all this awesome things that kids were making. So we did the school pilot program, kind of coordinating these efforts and working with educators and parents who were using this film to inspire their kids, and kind of coordinated this program into a wiki and some, like, an online Facebook group. And educators started sharing their curriculum with one another, what they were doing, and other educators would take one teacher's curriculum and add extension activities and tips. And that just started spreading around, and in the first 2 months, there were over 100 schools in 9 countries that participated in that program. So that was, that was kind of the end of the school year. The film posted in April. That was throughout May we did that, and then summer kicked in, and we started thinking about the next step. So we took the school pilot program and turned it into this global cardboard challenge. Which the idea was to invite the world to play, ask people to make something awesome out of cardboard in their imagination, and then on October 6th, which is actually this Saturday, marking the 1-year anniversary of the flash mob we did last year, where all these people came out to make Caine's Day, we wanted to celebrate that day and that idea of a community coming together to foster the creativity of kids everywhere. So these cardboard challenges will culminate in this global day of play on this Saturday, where people in their community can find one of over 200 events in 35 countries and go out and celebrate the creativity and imagination of kids everywhere. So
wow, that has been quite the year, Nirvan.
Yeah.
So over the past year, you've spent a lot of time with Caine. And I saw on the second video, his dad George said, he saw a lot of changes in Caine. A few things he mentioned were he stopped stuttering, he's a little more social, he's doing better in school. What are some of the other sort of soft and hard skills that you've seen Caine develop, over the course of the past year?
Well, Caine, him stopping stuttering, he speaks a lot more freely. So he's gotten a lot more confidence in his ability to describe his ideas. One of the coolest things is, when I first met him, he wanted to join the SWAT team, and now he's really interested in being a game designer and an engineer. And I don't even think he'd heard of the word engineer before, but he's really received a lot of encouragement, a tremendous amount of encouragement, and I think it's really bolstered his confidence in what he makes. So that's been really cool, and a lot of volunteers come out and help run the arcade on the weekends, and Caine has become a mentor to other kids. He has led workshops at maker fairs. He's spoken schools. He's spoken universities. He's spoken France. And just see a lot of more complexity in some of the games that he's made. He made this awesome game called Ticket Grab. We went to the Caine Festival of Creativity in France, and Caine was the youngest ever speaker there. And on the plane, he was really just fascinated with the safety instructions. He'd never traveled, he'd never flown overnight before, so he's really excited about that. So he's just glued to the flight attendants. And when we got back, he got this refrigerator box from a neighbor and made this ticket grab game, which is full of prize tickets, and he put a little observation window in the front of it, and he got a leaf blower with the money he made selling fun passes, and he just puts the leaf blower from the outside and turns it on, and all the tickets blow around, and you can see through the little window with people's responses. And he wrote these rules of how to play on the inside, and he also put an emergency exit on the roof, which was incorporated from his travels in case there was some kind of a disaster inside, that you could pull this handle and crawl out the top of the box. So I just see him incorporating a lot of the little things that he's learned in his experiences, and his experiences are broadening and his ideas are broadening. So that's been really cool to see.
There was a tweet. It said, I don't know who tweeted it, but it said, there will be a day when a generation of engineers and artists will be known for being influenced by Caine's Arcade.
Yeah.
What do you think of that?
I saw that yesterday and I favorited it. I think that, I'm definitely seeing just a lot of kids, boys, girls, inspired to start making things, or making more things, or returning to things they started making from Caine. I think kids really inspire kids, and Caine is reaching kids in ways that adults couldn't. So I think there could be some truth to that, and certainly will be fun to watch and see what happens.
So I'm wondering, you have the Cardboard Challenge coming up on October 6th. You have all these people from all over the world, answering the challenge and building cool stuff. Then what? Then what happens?
Well, after this, we've been really rushing. It's been literally 6 months. So we've been nonstop, a small team that's scaled up to make this happen. The next steps, we have a bunch of programs that we're developing. The next steps really are strategic development, board development for the foundation. So we're going to kind of be going into a mode of reflection and making these next steps. We have a lot of similar goals as Isaiah and the DIY team in terms of this Maker Scouts movement, kind of a similar program, and Isaiah and I have been talking about that and sharing some thoughts and ideas. So I think the next step is to really, our core goals are to promote and foster creative thinking as a core social value, give kids these opportunities to create built around their passions, help build and support community for kids who make stuff, promoting social entrepreneurship at a young age, and then using stories to inspire. So, we have a TV series about maker kids in development. We have plans to kind of build this platform to connect these kids with opportunities, similar to what Caine has had. So the next step is it's really kind of an improvisation with what's the community wants. So one of the goals with the Global Cardboard Challenge was to start building that community, and then listening to what they want and what they need, and work with them to kind of help connect them with those opportunities and community.
So I want to hear more about the is it Master Scout, Maker Scout?
Yeah.
Yeah, so Isaiah, of DIY, you have a platform, and you guys kicked that off earlier this year,
Yeah, we
um,
launched in May.
oh, in May.
Yeah.
And tell us a little bit about that, and how that might relate back to, recognizing kids and the awesome projects that they work on.
Yeah, so initially in May, we just launched a simple tool that worked as an iOS app or over the web, so that kids could build portfolios of all their creativity, all of their wacky inventions, and all of their improvised experiments, that they could just take a simple photo of it and put it up on their very own first website. So for a lot of these kids, this is the very first account they've ever created, and the very first place on the web that they've owned themselves. And we've had 25,000 kids sign up. We get dozens of amazing projects uploaded every day. And a couple months ago, we took the next step in our evolution towards Maker Scout's idea. So now we award skills for the projects that kids do, and now they've adjusted what they're doing based on the skills that we're rewarding. So to earn a skill, you complete 3 challenges in a certain discipline. So if you want to become a rocketeer, then we provide 10 to 15 challenges per skill, and you pick 3 of them. We provide the best of the internet as references that we've curated down, and then you go and build 3 of these challenges, upload 3 pictures or videos. We review them, make sure that they are what you say they are, and then they earn a skill, which is then displayed on their portfolio, and all of their projects are displayed for everyone to see in our public galleries. Soon we're moving towards sending them real embroidered patches as soon as they've earned the skill. And we're also building in more social features so that kids can ask each other questions, and get all of the rich interconnection that is not yet there, because we're building this week to week and kind of bootstrapping the whole thing.
So is anyone from the Cardboard Challenge, have they posted projects to DIY?
We've had hundreds of cardboard projects. When a project comes in, all we get from the kid is a project title, a caption. We know their username, but we don't know their real name, where they're at in the world, or if this was connected to a cardboard challenge. I assume that some of them were. We do have a paper crafter skill and also a salvager skill. One of the challenges for salvager is to build a game from scraps, and we link to Caine as an inspiration there. But soon we're moving towards real identities, because we've actually we do think it's important that kids get used to sharing who they really are, and that the intimate personal stories that will come out from sharing your real identity are more inspiring than when you're using avatar, which is how we currently handle identity.
Yeah, the identity piece with kids, I know firsthand that's a tough one.
Yes, we were initially extremely conservative because of COPA regulations, which, in a nutshell, are that if you have informed consent from a parent, that you can do whatever you want, as long as the parent really understands what you're saying their kid can do. But we wanted to play it really safe and make sure that we were easing people into this idea of really young kids having their own online accounts and identities. So we let them pick from animal avatars, which my partner and I illustrated. And we're still going to allow them to affiliate themselves with their kind of animal spirit, just because we think it's fun. But that'll become more of like a what clan or pack are you in, but you can still show your real identity as well.
Monica and Laura, I'd love to hear from you both on what you think about your initial reactions to this encouragement of a play frame of mind we see behind Caine's Arcade.
Go ahead, Laurel. or I can. I'm good either way.
It's okay. Thank you for your generosity. I love these projects. I think they're brilliant, and I really appreciate the work that you and your colleagues are doing, Nirvan and Isaiah. They're phenomenal. Um, I was struck by the innovativeness and the creativity that you're supporting in the students who are directly engaging and those who are observing on the outside. And I completely agree that children can be, in some cases, the best models for other children because that's really inspirational. I come from a performing arts background, and so I remember being very inspired by child stars. And when I would go and see plays, I would read the bios of all of the actors, particularly of the children in the show. And I remember maybe I was 12 years old when I realized, like, I aged out. I'm never going to be a child star. So along those lines, I'm interested in your take on the creation of materials that aren't as tangible as a structure or a circuit. When I was just perusing the extensive badges that you have on DIY.org, Isaiah, I didn't see anything related to relationship builder or video maker or performing art event, promoter or things along those lines. It seemed to be a lot more tangible in a sense, although a play takes place in real time and you need props, so that's tangible. At any rate, I wanted to throw that back to you.
Yeah, so we build a new skill every couple days. We release a new one, so we launched with 8, just weeks ago. And we're now up to, I think, 35. I've created a taxonomy of skills that's 150 skills. It's organized around 6 heroic poles. And so every skill is like a tertiary gradient of these heroic poles. At the top of that, this 6-sided map is artist, and then moving to the right is builder, farmer, scientist, engineer, and hacker. And so hacker blending back into artist. And every skill on the map, kind of blends in and out of these. And so if there's a skill that you're seeing that you think is a real creative skill, but it's not there, it's only because we haven't launched it yet, or we haven't built it yet. We actually have built the patch artwork for all of these. We just haven't gone through the work of culling all those references, getting the challenges in the right order and all of that. So yeah, there is a linguist skill, a anthropologist skill, a filmmaker skill. There isn't specifically like a something as kind of abstract as a relationship builder skill, because we identified a set of really important things that we thought actually were inherent in everything you do. And so, for example, we don't have an inventor skill. Because we had to figure out, taxonomically, what were the things that were just everywhere. And so, like, building relationships, playing, things like that, they're kind of baked into every patch. So.
I love the noob one. That's funny.
Gotcha, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, I'll jump in. Nirvan, I especially loved when you were talking about the day that you fell into the arcade and said that you got lost in your, inner child or whatever. I'll bring up again Colin Ward's book, The Child in the City. I just think that's so huge. I think that's why Mitch Resnick is always smiling. He's at the kindergarten lab, and finding these brilliant things that we've kind of lost out on over the years of our eagerness towards efficiency or whatever. I think that Kathy Davidson had a post called Standardizing Humanity, and in regard to your comment about Caine's stuttering, She says in that post, if no one's in the forest and a tree falls, does it really fall? If no one hears it. And she says, if there's no standards, are there really learning disabilities? And I think we're just missing out on brilliance and, what each person has to offer, because we're expecting certain things, and they feel that. So I'd love you guys, obviously not today, but I'd love your oversight of what we're trying to do. We're in the process now with experimenting with facilitating curiosities, simply that. And could we create an app to where you're talking about your curiosities every day, and it becomes kind of what you have brought forward, Isaac, a nonlinear portfolio, but it's not about waking up every day. Not that yours is, but it's not. The focus isn't on waking up every day for a badge or for an accolade. It's like Caine, so curious about life that when he goes on the airplane now, he goes back and he creates another, So anyway, that's kind of where we're headed, and I would love feedback as to, could we create something that that we don't have to say, is there a badge for this? Because it doesn't. We don't think about that. We're just doing really cool things, and we have this trail following us.
Go ahead, Nirvan.
I haven't thought about an app for curiosity yet, but just what you were saying, kind of, and Isaiah was talking to me about it a little bit the other day. Just finding that balance between giving rewards for these awesome skills and incentivizing learning in fun ways, while also not making it too much about the award itself, but actually the skill that you're getting, the thing that you're learning, the curiosity that you're exhibiting, and the things that you're gaining and picking up along the way. I think that's just a really interesting kind of balance space in terms of figuring out the dynamic between motivating and incentivizing and rewarding versus just kind of fostering something that's there. Just finding that relationship. So you're not giving a kid $1 to do something, but you're kind of showing him how that connects with other opportunities in their future. I'm not an expert on that, and I don't know what the results are from the different models, but that's just my hunch. I think that's an interesting problem to solve.
Well, I think that's huge. Your story is perfect. I mean, it was more that you were noticing Caine. That's the reward, that you're noticed, that you're known by someone, and that's again where then we aren't regimenting what the next step is. So great story.
May I jump in?
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, Isaiah, I don't want to leapfrog over you.
No, go ahead.
Okay, thank you. I'm interested in badges as an expression of what we find to be valuable and what we recognize as being out there, as opposed to an extrinsic reward. I feel like it's a reminder of a universe of possibilities. And if you scroll down Isaiah's page, there are so many badges, and as you yourself said, you're coming up with more and more and more. And for me, as I was looking at them, I felt like I did connect a little bit with that inner child that we talked about, like, ooh, cool, the cartographer badge. And it wasn't that I really wanted another emblem for my sash. It's that it reminded me that that's something really awesome that I could work on. And I loved that was held up as something worthwhile to shoot for. So that's the utility of badges for me.
Yeah, so I guess the way I think about it is that certainly we want kids to direct their own course through learning, and that it should be based on their earliest senses of what they're passionate about, and that there should be this like seamless gradient from their naive play towards what people will recognize as work, and that in that critical moment in which they are just curiously playing, there's this, this window between 5 and 10 where either the community around them, whether that's their parents, friends, family, or people online, either validate that play as really important work that is actually the stuff of life, or whether that's just play, but you actually need to hit the books and learn this stuff, which then often crowds out the curiosity in the play. In terms of developing badges and everything that we can do right now on the site early is just provide incentives for creativity that's already out there and is already one of the most ubiquitous resources in the world, which is the creativity of kids. We just want to make sure that it has a place to be celebrated, and that kids can discover new passions really easily. So the reason we're doing 150 patches and that they'll all be on this kind of interesting looking game map eventually, which hasn't yet been released, is that we want kids to see themselves in the context of all human capability and to be able to navigate that based on their own intuition and their own curiosity. And although we do provide somewhat of a curriculum, it's still extremely curiosity-based. You don't have, there's 10 to 15 challenges per skill. You only have to do 3 of them to earn the skill, so you can really weed out what doesn't seem interesting to you. And the way I see curriculum in general is that it doesn't really stifle curiosity, because as soon as you learn something, you realize that you've just peeled back one layer of the onion, and if the curiosity was there in the beginning, you're going to keep peeling back, and as long as there's a system that lets you choose your own curriculum, then I think you'll be in a consistent flow state with your challenge and your skill level.
I think that's huge what you just said. It's the choice, if we're facilitating the curiosity, yeah, structure and curriculum is going to be there, but if it's not compulsory what our curiosity is, that's huge.
Yeah, I've always thought that, by the time you're in middle school, you should have 2 required classes, and they should be character building classes, and then you should have 5 electives. And, somewhere in there, obviously, we need to get, basic skills in there, but I think you could actually teach basic skills through electives a lot more than we do.
Or I'd ask how many that we term basic skills have shown up through Caine's activities. If they're basic, they should show up.
Exactly.
So along those same lines, in school today, the education system, it has a lot of rigid assessments and tests, and you're in there and you're losing your sense of play. And so what can we do as educators and parents and mentors to encourage that sense of play, whether you're in the classroom or outside of it? I mean, we've talked about, obviously, there's lots of fun activities and projects to work on, but what are some of the other things you guys can think of?
Do you mean specifically like what works in classroom, what works out of classroom?
Yeah. So what are some ways? I mean, I know that Nirvan, who it looks like we just lost, was saying that he's been working, with teachers in the classroom to include some of these cardboard challenges. Obviously, there's now maker spaces and, different community spaces where kids and families can go and work on projects together. Are there some other, projects you can think? Oh, I see a hand up. Go ahead, Laurel.
Thank you, Tara. Thank you. I'm still trying to figure out how to jump in and not cut people off when my microphone is off. Anyway, thank you. See, it's analog. Well, I actually think about that question quite a bit, so I really appreciate it. I have a lot of ideas. I'm going to try to limit them because I tend to talk a lot. I think that to encourage play, we first have to do some work that creates a culture where play is not only acceptable but valued, where we're demonstrating that we really care about play and creativity and that they're safe to engage in that and that they'll be celebrated if they do, which again sort of ties back to the badge idea that I feel like we hold up a lot of values for kids. We demonstrably show that we care about them being quiet. We care about them sitting in their seat. We care about them fulfilling the parameters of a very closed-ended assignment, things like that. And so in order to create a culture in which we introduce an alternate value set and we make very clear we care about things that might seem shocking to them, because usually we don't care about thinking outside the box and going in independent directions and bringing in learning from informal spaces, would be to begin with some activities and some formal modifications of a classroom that express some values. So this ties back into the work that we've been doing at the Annenberg Innovation Lab under Henry Jenkins and Aaron Riley, talking about the characteristics of participatory learning. So having conversations and moving your space around to show that you can have breakout sessions, that you can work in small groups, that there are artifacts in the classroom that emphasize relevance, co-learning, creativity, bringing in learning from the learning ecosystem, and that also tied to motivation and engagement. And then if we want to get like really concrete, because I'm speaking a little abstractly, I think that improv games are really fun and can help to create that culture in which attempting silly things is great, and it doesn't have to turn out the way that you thought it would, and people aren't going to laugh at you, they're going to think you're awesome, that kind of thing.
I think that's great. Aaron, I worked with Aaron Riley, I mentioned before we started, at the USC Annenberg Innovation Lab on a children's transmedia project. And we worked really closely with a charter school in Los Feliz here in Los Angeles. And we had a lot of fun, working with the kids, thinking about story and how to extend it. And we got to go hang out in their classroom, and they came to USC, and it was kind of nice to see them out being, they loved being outside the classroom and going on a field trip and seeing all the cool things at USC. And so, I remember when I was growing up that field trips were what stuck in my brain more than, ever being in the classroom. So showing the world out there that you're going to have to join at some point seems like, making that an enjoyable part of your school experience seems like an important thing.
Or even making them feel like you're already part of the world and that there's a way to be a member at this time in your life.
Bridging that gap. Like, there isn't this wall there. We're going to sort of figure out how to get you, you're already part of it.
Monica, what do you think about designing curriculum?
Okay, thank you for the intro. I think a huge part of it is mindset. And just from, I've been a math teacher for 20 years, and the last 4 been doing this, working with kids, especially about how they would redefine public education. And it's amazing how many people now, with the interactions I've had within the city and globally, how many people don't think it's legal to think for themselves, or how many people don't think it's legal to play, or that it's non-legit to play. So just a simple idea of having a daily practice of suggesting that we notice the unlikely. Your improv idea is great. That would be something that no matter what you're doing, again, we're working on a mindset here, just to get people to start noticing things.
Oh, good. I see that you joined us again, Nirvan.
Yeah, sorry.
We were worried
That's
that you were just gone.
And now we want to test
existence.
on what we talked about
Yes,
while you
we have a test for you now, Nirvan.
I
Something I
back in
have
high
a
school.
question from someone in our chat, and this is something near and dear to my heart, and that is that can you speak to the challenges of translating the real value of making to schools or educators, since it doesn't fit perfectly within current subject-based standards? We know that there's some work that Dale Doherty's doing with maker spaces in schools. I'm just wondering, your thoughts on that, and anybody certainly can answer that.
I guess the way that I look at what making and the whole maker movement is providing is it's building creative confidence, and that in a world where you don't really know what you're going to be when you grow up, because those roles are constantly changing, and we don't know what 65% of the careers will be by the time a child grows up. That creative confidence and the ability to fail and be curious and iterate, these are the things that successful people share, and that making is just a kind of it's a platform for kids to have the confidence to try a new skill that they've never thought that they had, fail at that, but participate in a culture in which failure is rewarded and encouraged, and to continue to adapt and continually gain skills with their own self-direction and self-reliance. It's nothing we teach kids will stick if they're not participating and driving the process.
Super answer. Could you say that again?
Oh, I was saying nothing we teach.
Good. Spot on.
This is recorded, just so you guys know. You can go back and review. And I see a hand up, Laurel. I like this. This is good.
Thank you. So, yeah, I did very well in formal school, but I completely agree with Isaiah, and I think that he makes a really compelling and strong argument philosophically, and it's tied to a lot of good sense, and I'm on board 100%. What it seems to me this member of our community is asking, though, is about some of the formal line items in educational standards that exist today. And we can make all sorts of arguments about the kinds of children who we want to help in order to build a brighter future, et cetera, but there's still like standard 1.4 science, being able to use the scientific method, and they have to check all of those off in order to seem like they're responsibly executing their job. So I feel like we need to kind of make a hack or a mod of those standards in order to make them fit our purposes, right? And so my idea for that is to identify some of those standards or processes that are embedded in various maker experiences. Certainly they're using the scientific method because they're beginning with a question, they're corralling materials, they have a certain idea about how it's going to end up, they're testing, they're looking at what happens. I think that you can consciously design challenges like that are on your site to either try to meet those standards or to just identify what standards they do meet. And I think that we can also perhaps try to think a little bit more broadly about tying standards from multiple disciplines into certain experiences, so that if they think about their curriculum as a holistic entity as opposed to now it's science time and I'm only looking at the science standards, recognizing that maybe the social studies standards are embedded in a certain science activity, then perhaps at the end of the day or the end of the year, they've met all of their requirements, just not in silo.
Thank you, Laurel. Hey, Nirvan, I wanted to hear from you because you've been working with teachers and schools and stuff. So tell us.
It's been really neat to see how different teachers have this layer of Common Core standards and the curriculum that they need to hit into these projects, like something as simple as building an arcade. Teachers have made it into a math challenge, so they're making a math arcade, and kids are using math problems to win the game, and they're designing their own problems. It's I totally agree with Isaiah's take. I mean, I went to a school. I was lucky enough to find a school in college that didn't have grades, and really their whole philosophy was ultimately you're responsible for your own education. And it's the idea, like, if you can learn to learn and teach creative thinking and foster that, you're going to have people, little people, older people, who are all prepared for an uncertain future, who can problem solve, think creatively, be resourceful. So, I do think that there is a role for, I understand where people are coming from, where they want these standards to measure progress. And I think in terms of how that relates to sort of a maker project-based learning model, it's more of finding ways to recognize, like, a project that a kid's creating as, if that project works, like, that's a standard of success. Like, and in a lot of ways, it's a much more tangible standard than sort of formulaic standards that don't take into account a lot of background and culture. And I've heard from a lot of teachers in the education space that are frustrated with the current model of standardized testing and don't feel it gives them enough room to really build and explore around kids' passions. And I think that there does need to be an adjustment there, and that there is a way to integrate standard ideas and ideas of, this kid got that skill through project-based learning. I mean, there's schools like the New Tech Network and Para Los Niños who successfully incorporate these models into project-based learning in education. So I think it can be done. It's just a way of figuring out how to scale it and make it bigger.
Yeah, from what I can tell, the only encumbrance that project-based learning has from replacing all curriculum is a sort of laziness and lack of creativity on curriculum designers' shoulders, and in that, to teach a subject, you could divide that subject into 50 points, and each one of those could have a one-page worksheet that can easily be duplicated from school to school, and that's the daily homework. That's the daily feed, is a worksheet in which you fill in the blank. You could just as well take 10 of those ideas, build a really interesting project platform in which kids could invent various versions of it, and you could cover all that ground. You can always cover all the ground through projects, and that's not just making artifacts, but that's deciding on a larger application and going for it. But I just think it's been a very slow trudge trying to get all of these educational materials across the country to be more ambitious and more creative.
So imagine if we decided it was legal to think for ourselves, and we spent the 16,000 hours in school on this process of learning to learn, and we didn't spend all our time trying to check off all these cool things that are happening. And so we're just prepping kids for uncertainty, and what better way to prep them for uncertainty to have them making and doing, and experimenting with stuff. So I think it is a kind of a call to arms for us to stand up and say, we know most people don't use the math that we teach in schools, so let's do something with our time that might be more beneficial to people. I was wondering, Nirvan, if you think that, I keep going back to it, but it's just because I think we're missing people. Caine stuttering, that didn't come from any standard that we checked off, I liked your answer as well.
I think one of the things that we've been exploring, and there's this tremendous opportunity, is recognizing these informal learning environments and approaching the problem not through trying to change, the U.S. Department of Education's standards, but just going ahead and starting to do projects that we think are fun and seeing how those are being adopted by people, whether it's, tens of thousands of people, like finding DIY platform and kids getting in there and getting excited and sharing that stuff, or something like Caine's story, going both into the classrooms, but also right into parents are watching this with their kids. And, kids are learning just by doing, outside of school as well as inside of school. And we're, with the Imagination Foundation, like we're really interested in this model of the scalable model of project-based learning that is accessible to the education space in a more formal setting, but doesn't just rely on that as the only opportunity to give kids these structures to play and to explore.
All right, I cannot believe it is almost time up for us. This has been a very fun conversation. I wanted to give each of you just, less than a minute, 30 seconds would be better, to just sort of wrap up with your final thoughts. And Isaiah, we're going to start with you. Then you can
sure.
go, Laurel.
Yeah, I mean, my final thought is just right in the thread we were at, which is, the future of how schools can adopt these values. And, the inherent nature of the problem is that we have a giant system with many, many small contributors, but that they don't have a systematic way of the cream rising to the top or assessing what the cream is. And so even if we do great things, they might be isolated to little centers of hipness, and that majority of schools across the country won't adopt them, won't know about them. And so I really think we need to build something on the internet that allows the many, many nodes to have a conversation and for the cream to rise to the top. And that's kind of what we're trying to do, but I think there could be something that's even more school-centric than us. So.
Thank you. Laurel.
I think that that's a beautiful sentiment. I really appreciate that. I also think that it's really important that we work with teachers instead of against them, and that we don't mistake some of their practice as the outgrowth of what they genuinely want to do in the classroom, but what they are compelled to do due to educational climates and standards and regulations to which they feel they have to serve, otherwise they might be riffed or fired. So I would love for us to speak to a few levels up as well, to principals, to superintendents, to policymakers, so that people who love children, the teachers in the classroom, can do some of this creative work that I think would feed them better.
Thank you so much. Monica.
I just want to thank the people that are doing stuff here. I mean, that's the best marketing, is just to keep doing cool stuff. So keep up.
Last but not least, Nirvan.
I again think that we just, you don't need to give kids permission to play. Like, they're going to play on their own. It's just a matter of, as parents and educators, giving them some unstructured time. I think the value of unstructured time, where kids can really, like Caine had this whole summer to himself. He wasn't told what to do. He was left to kind of explore and fill those moments of boredom with something that nobody would have come up with on their own. And I think giving kids that space to perhaps fail or to succeed will lead to some really surprising and wonderful results. And finally, this Saturday, in like 4 days, we're having a global day of play, and invite everybody to go to imagination.is, and you can find an event near you and go out and support the kids in your community, or if there's not an event, you can host your own. It just takes a box like what's behind Tara, and it's an imagination.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it, and I have some final ending notes. Okay, so to keep today's conversation going, we encourage you to continue using the Twitter hashtag #ConnectedLearning, and am posting in the comment section on Nirvan's webinar page that's also on Connected Learning TV, and I'm going to share some of the pages here, including some of yours. And a big note here where we wanted to let you know that Connected Learning Research Network is still accepting applications for a 2-year study on how youth are learning in connected learning environments. If you work with a group of 15 or more youth aged 13 to 16, visit the link posted in the live stream chat for how to apply, and we'll have that on the webinar page too, I assume. Our next session will be Thursday, October the 11th at 10 a.m. Pacific with Kathy Davidson, and we'll look at how changing higher education can change the world. So just wanted to quickly share everyone's web pages because, you know, I like to make sure everybody can go back and be familiar. Let's see. So let's see, is this going to work? There we go. All right, so here's imagination.is. Please head over there to learn more about the Cardboard Challenge. Unfortunately, I can't make it to Boyle Heights, but hopefully I'll be able to do it in Detroit. The next one we're going to look at is the DIY.org, and go over to the skills or explore area to see all the great projects that are listed there. On the Annenberg Innovation Lab, we have the information on Play that Laurel works with, along with Aaron Riley, who has also been a guest on our show. And then, Monica, I hope I have the right one. We have the B Lab. Is that right? You can learn more about Monica's work there. And finally, if you head over to connectedlearning.tv and you click on the menu item, What is Connected Learning?, you can take a look at our infographic to learn more about what the principles are and exactly what we're talking about. So I think that's it. I think I covered everything. So thanks again. I appreciate everyone's time. And I'll probably talk to each of you sometime in the near future.
Thanks, everyone. It was
Thank you so
awesome.
much.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, everybody. Great job, Tara.